reload the page, right? The second time, now Jerry has figured out that associated with this main page, there are 25 images associated with it. Now, if I reload this page, Jerry actually pushes me down all those images. So it will not request every time and not go to the server every time. I will just make one request and get back 26 responses to render my page immediately in just one round trip. Okay? So if I reload this page, click, you don't even see the page flickering. It's like, it's not visible, right? So that's the key point of HTTP2. But since I have slightly more time, let me try to do one more demo for you, which was not something that I planned much, but let's try it out. Let's see if I can demo this to you. Okay. So the key point is that the user experience gets a lot better because the protocol is a lot better. You didn't change anything in your web application. Actually, the web application was exactly the same. But if you have a complex web application where you have a lot of correlated resources, then your user experience just immediately becomes so much better. And I've shown to you what happens when you make a user experience better, right? All Amazons and Mozilla.org, American Online, Yahoo, all of those guys were actually very concerned about this. So they actually worked to improve the user experience and make these pages load faster. Okay, the demo is starting. It has started. Let's see if I can get here. Okay, for 3 I think it is. I think. Made a mistake. Okay, let's find this guy. Oops. All right. Not this demo, but we'll go back to the slides. I should have set up a little bit better, but okay. So let's move forward past the demo. Okay. So conclusions for these sessions. The key thing is that you don't have to change anything if you're a web developer. It's already there. Servlet API will be backward compatible. Frameworks could use the push API to give your website even more performance. No more hacks needed to work around the HTTP one-to-one limitations. No more spriting hacks, no more domain sharding, whatever. JDK9 will support HTTP2, hopefully. I mean, it's not carved in stone yet, but there are very good chances that this is going to happen because, you know, it's kind of a requirement. Server 4.0 will probably, I don't know, we'll see, will probably require JDK9 or something like that. We do have some changes for deployers, though. Deployers, the guys that actually put this stuff online, they will have to use TLS everywhere. They will have to buy certificates. They will have to upgrade the server container, for example, in our case, to Jerry 9.3, which is the version of Jerry that supports HTTP2. You will have to upgrade your network infrastructure. If you have a load balancer in front and you're offloading TLS traffic on the load balancer, then what you have is clear text HTTP2. So your load balancer has to understand, or do not give a crap about these frames, you can just look at them as bytes, and send them back to a backend server, right? So Jerry can work in a way that can accept clear text HTTP. So the typical configuration that we do have, for example, we could have for our own website is a front-end load balancer. It does the TLS offloading and then forwards the HTTP2 clear text traffic to Jerry. right? Jerry makes the request and everything. Like in our particular case, we forward this request using HTTP client, but with the fastest CGI transport. We forward that to WordPress, and we get the WordPress pages back. And then we send them back using HTTP2. Right? So our own website, basically, it's a PHP website that runs Jerry as a proxy, but can serve HTTP2. Which is not which is a very interesting solution, because right now, if you run Apache or any other typical solution that you have to run PHP shops, they can't serve HTTP2 because the servers that you typically use to do that, they don't support HTTP2 yet. Like Nginx doesn't, Apache doesn't, and so forth. So that's the typical configuration that you have for PHP sites. But you can do this with Jerry. So that's the key point. So to sum it up, this is what I would like you to get off the session is HTTP2 makes you money, right? And of course that's my take as well, so you have to upgrade to Jerry, right? So, because we can do this for you, and you've seen the demo, you've seen how benefiting the performance that comes with HTTP2, and you know that the performance is tight related to your money. So, thanks for listening. If you have any question, yes.
Hi, Simone. Great talk.
Thanks.
You know, many applications are hosted on Amazon Cloud and Google Cloud, like the ones I work on. Do you know if and when these cloud services will it be upgraded to support HTTP2, or if you have any?
No, I don't know this particular detail. I don't know exactly the particular detail for Amazon's, but you can have two choices, basically. If you don't need the elastic support on the load balancer that Amazon provides, so for example, it's your personal website, or you know that you need 4 servers and that's it. Then what you can do is that you can avoid the Amazon load balancer. You can have your own, and there are solutions that understand HTTP2. So, for example, we use Hub Proxy. It's a software solution, it's not a hardware piece of thing. So you can install it on a server machine and say, okay, my 4 servers are behind this guy, and this guy will, in the DNS, you put the address of this guy running Hub Proxy. Hub Proxy can do TLS offloading and talk clear text HTTP2 back to the server, which could be Jerry, and it will just work. If you need the dynamic, elastic load balancer thing, you need to ask Amazon. But that's the point. I mean, we come here, as the Jerry, but we talk in general. The real push comes from you guys. If you go to Amazon and drop a message or open a bug and say, hey, when are you going to support HTTP2? Because it's already here, like every browser supports it. And I wanted to take advantage of the performance improvements that I had, which are big. Have you seen in the demo? I mean, it's like the HTTP one was, and the other one was bam, right? So you gotta really push the library implementers. You gotta come to our site and open bugs on the HTTP2 implementation and say, hey, I would like this feature. Using Tomcat, go to the Tomcat guys, and which, to my knowledge, they are not even started the HTTP2 implementation. You go to them and say, hey, open a bug on Tomcat and say, please support HTTP2, we need it. And same for Nginx. They didn't even start the HTTP2 implementation. So open a bug. I mean, it's open source. So just opening a bug, it's contributing to the community and to the project. So please do. Yes? Yes.
I actually have 2 questions. The first one about the browser debuggers. Can you actually see, for example, which resources are being pushed and so on? To kind of
yes, you can.
what is happening?
Let me try to quickly open this. But yeah, here in Chrome, you have a special page called Chrome net-internals. Yeah. And you get this page, but if you add, well, it is navigable, but if you add #speedy, oh, go into export, I have no idea. Oh man. Okay, here you go. Like for example, these are the connections that are currently open. That you see, I don't know if you say it. Let me try to see if I can do this. Yeah. Okay, so here you see protocol negotiated is H2-14. So H2 means HTTP2, -14 means the current draft version of the protocol that Chrome is implementing, and it has negotiated this version with the server. So for example here with Google.sc, it has negotiated H2.14, as I told you. This browser already speaks HTTP2 with the Google servers. You don't need to even do anything. You probably didn't even know that you were already on HTTP2. So if you go to and click on this link here, well, now the session is expired, but what you would see, you would basically see a dump of all the frames, the HTTP2 frames that the client, the browser sent to the server, and those that were received by the server. You can see the pushed frames. You can see that the browser actually adopted those frames. They use this word in the logs for adopted. Let me try to just open a page to Google. Google.c. All right, so we go back here and refresh this. No, there's probably a newer session. No, it's not. Well, it's not working well, this stuff, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This is like a limitation of the browser tool here, but no, doesn't seem like it's using it. But yeah. Believe me, it works. I mean, sometimes you get a closed browser, you open it, but it's not perfect. It's a developer tool hidden in the, but it works. And for Firefox, for example, you can enable the Firefox debug logging in the console, so you can start Firefox in the console and enable a couple of modules that reports you back what is the HTTP2 activity that the browser is doing. So, and plus you have, for example, it's not shown here, but if I go to the Google tab, there's little plugins, like for example this one. It's like a Bolt. It's a plugin for Chrome, but you also have it for Firefox. They actually show you what version are you actually running. So if I go here and I hover on it, it says it's actually using the Quick protocol. Using, what is it using? And SPD3. Okay, the other trick is that Chrome and Google are basically a duo, like a dynamic duo. And what they do is Chrome make, for example, 90% of requests using HTTP2, and then they just decide that for a while they disable it. And then they gather the data so they can make statistics out of it. So in your own web browser, you can make HTTP2 requests most of the times, and then sometimes they just make a different protocol. Like for example, in this case, they don't even use HTTP, TCP. They use UDP to talk to the server. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, they gather statistics in this way, and they say, okay, how much better we are when we use HTTP2. And so they can actually verify this on the field. So yeah, there are tools. Did I miss your second question?
It's kind of about the content or like the negotiation that goes on beforehand. How does the browser know if I'm allowed to use HTTP?
Yes, it works in this way. I didn't talk about this, but it works in this way. When you open the TLS connection, so you open a TCP connection, then you have to negotiate the TLS communication, right? The HTTP2 has defined a TLS extension called ALPN, Application Layer Protocol Negotiation. So when the first packet of the TLS establishment of the handshake between the client and the server goes to the server, it contains what are the protocols that the client can speak. The server detects which protocol the client can speak, picks the one that it likes, and then replies back to the client with the protocol that he actually chose. This is a modification to the TLS implementation. So what happened is this in the Java world again, that this was not available at all in the JDK implementation of TLS that we have, like SSL engine, SSL socket, it's not there. So what we have done is a Jetty project. We have created this extension. We have modified the JDK, the OpenJDK source classes to add these extensions. This library is now available. It's open source, like Jetty is. It's open source and anybody can use it. So, for example, the Netty project uses our library to implement the ALPN negotiation at the beginning. And I think Tomcat already did for Speedy as well. So we're actually fostering this, these changes to happen in the community. So, once more, it comes more or less everything from us. We were the first to implement Speedy. We were the first to implement HTTP2. We were the ones that actually made ALPN possible in the JDK. So, go check out Jetty if you don't already. But it's a very stable server. We're really happy with it. Everybody's kind of happy what Jetty does, and you will be bleeding edge, and you will kick ass to your competitors. Yes.
This code that you have developed, is there any indication that it will be included in the JDK 9, or will they be doing their own stuff?
Well, there are indications that HTTP2 support will be in the JDK 9, but I can't promise anything. I mean, JAP 110 is proposed for inclusion. An ALPN implementation is proposed. I'm trying to push that to enter JDK 9, because actually what happens is that every JDK release, what I have to do is I have to go download the OpenJDK source code, look if there were any changes, update the changes that have been in those classes, reapply the patches that we added for ALPN support. It's a pain in the ass. So if JDK 9 has ALPN support out of the box, I'm the most happy person in the world. Because I don't have to do all this work for like 3 JDK. And fortunately, the current status is that Oracle is aggressively cutting releases. So for example, next month, I will not have to do any more JDK 7 releases for ALPN because it's not maintained anymore. Well, it's not maintained. They don't do any public release anymore. So it's good for me because I only have to do JDK 8. By the way, before ALPN, there was another extension that was proposed, but then it died. It was called NPN, like Next Protocol Negotiation, and we did an implementation for that too. So every JDK change, I have to do 2 libraries. It's a lot of work, but we're happy to do it because, and we're happy that everybody uses it. What we really want is go HTTP2, so you should too. Anyone thinks here, that's great, but I'm not going to do it within the next year. Oh man, you're going to do it the next year? Fantastic. So thanks for. If you have more questions.
I have another question. You didn't mention Apple. What are they?
Apple?
Yes.
I have no idea. I don't think Safari is doing any work on HTTP2. I don't know. Then Apple is like a super secret company, and they may come out tomorrow with that complete HTTP2 implementation.